Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the third in our series of webinars for parent and family engagement here at Seattle University. My name is Tim Wilson, and I am the Assistant Vice President for Student Development here at SU. And with me today is Gina Lopardo, who is the Director of our Education Abroad program. Just want to let you know that we are recording this, and we are hoping to have this out by the end of the week. We will also send you PDF copies of the slides that we use today. As always, you can use the chat function to send in questions, and we will answer those, or at least Gina will answer those either as they come in or at the end. That'll be up to Gina. But without further ado, I'm going to bring to you Gina Lopardo and our Education Abroad webinar.
Welcome, everyone, and good afternoon. I'm happy to be here with you today to demystify education abroad a bit, hopefully. Just to give you a little bit about myself, I'm Gina Lopardo, as Tim mentioned, and I direct the Office of Education Abroad. I myself studied abroad in Italy and as an undergraduate, and I've worked in education abroad now for more than 15 years. It's really a privilege for all of us in the office to assist students in their exploration of study abroad options and the transformation that typically results from the experience. So I want to start off a little bit about you and how you might be feeling about your child studying abroad. I imagine that the thought of your son or daughter studying abroad brings up different feelings. Maybe you don't want them to go because you believe they are safer here at home. I can tell you that safety can't be guaranteed anywhere, not even here on campus, but we are diligent to make sure.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Can you ask everyone to mute their phones because I can hear someone chewing? I can't hear you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. If you could mute your phones so that you're just hearing me, that would be great. So we're diligent on our part to make sure that our program partners have reasonable safety and risk plans in place for all types of situations, from a student going through depression to natural disaster response. Perhaps you're excited because you studied abroad, or because you didn't study abroad and want your child to have that experience you wished you had. Maybe you don't have any feelings at all at this point, but most likely you're at least unsure. So I hope today that I can provide you with information to assist you in making informed decisions with your son or daughter in regards to studying abroad. Let's start with the benefits. I'm sure most of you, could be a little broken record, especially if you've come to accepted student days in the past, but it is important to review what some of the valuable outcomes are. We'll start with the fact that many college students today expect to study abroad while they're in college. Many of those who return from studying abroad often will describe the experience as fun because they're unable to unpack all the ways that they've developed while away. Our job in our office is to try to help them unpack that to really flesh it out more for themselves. And I want to talk a little bit about how it's not just fun, but also transformative, because it is transformative. SU's mission is dedicated to educating the whole person, to professional formation, and to empowering leaders for a just and humane world. International education impacts each of these. It influences academic growth in general, as well as discipline specific. It really makes a big difference to learn about history in a campus classroom versus having the actual location to bring that history alive, or to study economics in the US versus abroad. It forces one to understand one's own values. For example, the pull between the way we do things and the way they do things, the pull between rich and poor, family relations, the treatment of the environment, and government actions. International education develops cross-cultural competency, a greater understanding of self and place, and language proficiency as well. It has been documented to positively influence creativity, problem solving, and negotiation ability. It is also valued by employers, especially because of the skills I just mentioned. There are additional outcomes as well. Usually when students come back, anecdotally, we can make these observations, but there's also research to support that when students return from an education abroad experience, they demonstrate stronger academic performance in the classroom and stronger cross-cultural awareness. One of the important ways to learn to engage globally is to analyze issues and policy from cross-cultural perspectives. This happens through direct, sustained, meaningful contact with a variety of people and cultures. Our returnees, as we call our students who come back to campus after studying abroad, also have a higher graduation rate. Okay. We do offer your student quite a bit of support on our end, and I want to just cover a little bit of that as well. So in the Education Abroad office, it's our mission to support meaningful study abroad experiences for students by facilitating exploration of options, preparation before departure, and then reintegration when they come back. In addition to my role, we have an advisor, 2 specialists, and 2 peer advisors who are current students. Any interested student is required to attend an information session first in our office in order to learn about the basic information, such as credit transfers, finances, and other details. As an FYI, these meetings are offered several times a week, and students can just schedule an appointment to attend one when it's convenient for them. Next, they have individualized advising from an advisor or specialist to discuss their personal and academic goals. We want to learn about, in order for them to learn about different programs and financial considerations that may be a good fit for their goals. And then students can meet with their academic advisor as many times as they need to. We prepare students for departure through a mandatory health and safety orientation, as I mentioned, and we work with students to be sure that the courses they intend to take abroad transfer back to SU before they leave. We really want them to stay on track for graduation, and I'm sure you do as well. We are available to support them while they are away as well. And typically there are program directors and staff on site in the programs that they participate in to support them as well. And then we offer different reentry programs when they return to help them adjust to being back home. In addition to my office, there are other supports that they should rely on here on campus. Students work with their academic advisors to map out when they should go abroad, what courses they need to take to fulfill their graduation requirements, and to determine what the courses will count for at SU. We encourage students to meet with a student financial services counselor to determine financial options based on a program budget. This is really important both to the students and to you as their parents, I'm sure. The Student Financial Services Office also has a limited power of attorney form for your students to fill out so they can designate you as a proxy for all SU financial matters while they're abroad. Students should also work with Disability Student Services before going abroad to address accommodation needs, and Student Health Services can provide students with some guidance on required vaccinations for their time abroad. Just a quick reminder, if you could put your phones on mute while you're listening, that would be really helpful. All right, so let's see. We're going to talk about quarters versus semesters now. Unlike the rest of the world, which operates on semesters, you all know that SU is on works on quarter terms. So this definitely makes studying abroad a bit tricky. It's important to remember that 1 semester credit is equal to 1.5 quarter credits. Therefore, if you take a look at the screen, for students going during a fall semester, they will typically earn more credits because they are taking a semester load versus a quarter load for the fall. The cost can be a bit higher because it's typically a longer time abroad. And then 1 quarter of aid will still be applied to anyone going in fall semester on all of our programs. And then for students who choose to participate in spring semester, they're going to earn less credits, typically 22.5 versus 30, although the cost can be less because instead of paying for 2 quarters, you're paying for 1 semester. And then again, 1 quarter of aid is still applied. And then for students going for a full academic year, it washes. Earn the same credit. The cost may be a bit higher depending on the program that the student has chosen, and 2 quarters of aid will be applied to a full academic year. Oop, I went the wrong way. Sorry about that. Sorry. Bear with me for a minute. Got it. All right, so we have 5 different program types. I'm going to go into describing each of these to some degree of detail, not the full details that would be good for us to get into, but we'll be working with students more closely to provide those details, and they can also be found on our website. So, for our long-term faculty-led programs, we have our French in France and Latin American Studies program. Both of these are language immersions. They are run through our Modern Languages department, and faculty do go with students for the time that the programs last. The Matteo Ricci College has begun offering a fall or spring quarter Western Civ class in Paris. And they also have an international internship option for their Humanities for Leadership majors. So a couple of points I want you to keep on long-term faculty-led. The cost for participation is SU tuition plus program fees. All 3 of these work on a quarter system. So if a student goes on this program for 2 quarters, they will be paying for 2 quarters worth of SU tuition. All aid and scholarships apply, so that includes SU aid and federal and state. Students receive full credit for each quarter that they're there, and they will receive letter grades. All of the courses that they take will apply to their major and minor requirements. And finally, these programs typically are winter or spring quarters, with the exception of the MRC Western Civ class, which sometimes has run in the fall. For our short-term faculty-led programs, several SU professors offer short-term programs which run anywhere from 10 days to 4 weeks, typically over spring break or during the summer. Topics, locations, and costs vary among these programs. So typically the courses are worth 5 credits. Students enroll in the quarter prior to participation so that the tuition cost for the program is rolled into their flat quarter rate. However, there are program fees that are required, and that's to support their time abroad. Only Perkins loans apply to these programs, and students can take courses that satisfy major, minor, and U core requirements. As I mentioned, we have internship options as well. We have Matteo Ricci, as I said, that offers international internships for their Humanities for Leadership major. And we also have a program called the International Development Internship Program, which is open to all majors. For both of these, students pay SU tuition plus applicable program fees. All of their aid and scholarships apply, again, including SU and federal and state. Students are awarded full credit for each quarter, and they are given SU grades for participation in these programs. Typically, participation in these are applied to their major and minor requirements. We have several reciprocal exchange programs as well, which not only provide our students with the opportunity to study abroad in Japan, South Korea, Sweden, Greece, Australia, Spain, and China, but it also allows for students from these institutions to study here on our campus, which adds to the diversity of our classrooms. Many of these universities are Jesuit and mirror our own mission, vision, and values. So things to keep in mind about exchanges are that typically they work on a semester system, and so students will be charged 1/4 of tuition per semester that they participate in these programs. They will pay room and board to the host school, not to SU. 100% of their aid is portable. This includes SU aid as well as federal and state. Students receive transfer credit, so they won't receive grades, but they will receive transfer credit, and their oh gosh, I can't think of the word. Their transcript will reflect that they went abroad and earned certain credits for that. Semester, they can go for a semester or academic year, and most courses are taught in English. Okay, and then we have partner programs, and so this is our new model. We're just rolling it out now, so I will do my best to describe this to you. These are offered around the world for various lengths of time, appropriate for a variety of majors. An exciting development that's begun for fall 2016 is that there'll be approximately 70 programs available for students to use their SU aid and scholarships towards payment. Currently, under the old model, students only had about 12 programs to choose from. So this has proved to be very exciting, but also can be a little nerve-wracking, we found, for students, because now they have too many options. So we have to work hard with students to help them narrow their considerations. For more specific information on these, as well as all our programs, as I mentioned, please visit the Education Abroad website, because there really are too many details for us to cover today. To keep in mind with the partner programs, again, students are charged 1/4 of tuition per semester that they're abroad. Room and board varies with programs. The room and board is part of the cost. On others, it's an additional expense that would be paid directly to the program provider. Again, we make that clear to students which of those programs are which. There's 100% aid portability, again, for both SU aid, grants, scholarships, and federal and state. Students can go for an academic year or a semester. Most of the courses are taught in English, which is helpful. Students receive transfer credit, which again is similar to the exchange. They will receive the credit and acknowledgement that they were brought on their transcript, but they will not receive letter grades. The most important thing to realize on this is that there are different program fees attached to different programs. So we have developed a tier system, and the tiers go from 0 to 6 tiers. At the first tier, there's a 0 program fee, and most of those programs include room and board, and it can go all the way up to $12,000 depending on the program that a student selects. One thing to keep in mind with that is, even with that additional $12,000, for some students, it's still less than paying a second quarter of tuition here on campus. So that's what I have for right now on the partner programs. Majority of our students will participate in these types of programs. Finally, if all of the options that we have available aren't satisfactory, students are still able to select programs outside of our menu. These work a little bit differently, and so the specifics are: students do not pay tuition to SU. Instead, they pay the program provider directly. There's a $1,000 administrative fee to SU per semester that the student is abroad. With that, they are able to, like I said, transfer in the credits, and then also receive the same support from my office that students participating in our own programs would receive. Only federal and state aid is portable for non-SU programs. Transfer credit, again, will show up on the transcript along with designation that they were abroad. Students can participate for a semester or an academic year, and again, most courses are taught in English. Something to keep in mind for all of these programs as well is that they really do offer a variety of locations, a variety of course selections, and we try to help them sort things out so that they can choose what works best for them. I think I'll take a minute to ask if there are any questions on any of the information I just presented before we move to the next part. So please type in questions if you have any.
So what I'm learning right there is that from Garrett, he's going to need to participate in a program that's within the school.
Again, a reminder that you want to have your phone on mute. Okay, so we haven't gotten any questions. I'll continue on. Of course, there'll be an opportunity at the end for you to ask your questions as well. Okay. Oh. Here. Oh, we do have questions. Okay. One of the questions we have is the Berlin program SU or non-SU. So we have the FU Best program, which is in Berlin, and that is an SU-sponsored program. And I believe it falls in the zero tuition, either the first tier or the second tier. So it's on the lower end of our tiers as well. Okay. So next we're going to talk about the who, the what, the where, and how of education abroad. So it definitely is for everyone. The soonest an SU student can study abroad is the summer following freshman year. We'd like everyone who wants to go abroad to have that opportunity. We work hard with students to examine course requirements and financial limitations. It's important to consider students' abilities and identities, racial, sexual orientation, gender, and religion, all of which can have significant impact based on the location of study being considered. It's often difficult for science, technology, engineering, math, and nursing students to study abroad for a semester as well. A lot of times our short-term programs make it an option for them because they can't fit it in during the semester. This also holds true for our athletes and ROTC students. So all students should feel empowered to go abroad with enough information to be ready for all it presents, both positive and negative. All right, so what? What can students do when they are abroad? They're earning course credit, as we talked about, and most often those not even most often, those course credits will satisfy either major requirements, minor requirements, core requirements, or general electives. It's up to students to work with their academic advisors to determine which of these will be satisfied with the courses they select. An important thing too to point out is that our university core now has a third module that has a global focus, and so students are finding that saving that for a term abroad has been very helpful and an easier way to guarantee that they can go abroad. In terms of where students will live while they're abroad, again, there's more than 45 countries represented in all of the programs that I've mentioned. Students will have the options, depending on their program, of living in apartments, dormitories, host families, or independent housing. Again, it's dependent on the program, but that's something that we try to find out from students as well. What do they feel would be most helpful to them during their time abroad? Paying for it is a big deal. In addition to being able to apply financial aid to the programs, scholarships and grants are also offered through some of the program providers that students will work with. So this could potentially be an additional source for payment towards the cost of going abroad. And then we have a wonderful fellowships office here that works closely with students to look at the Boren and Gilman scholarships, which are offered through the U.S. Department of Education. And then finally, of course, there's personal contributions from either the student working, from the family. Okay. So I also want to thank you for your patience with my lack of tech savvy as I take a really long time to go through all the slides. Okay, and then I think it's important to talk about what your role is. You have a significant role in preparing your son or daughter to study abroad. So we recommend that you encourage them to visit our office very early. The earlier in their time at SU, the better, so that they will have time to find the best fit for them on their schedule. Talk to your students to find out what programs he or she is considering and ask how they have come to those choices. A lot of times students, as I mentioned, will say, it's a fun experience, or they're expecting to have fun, but it needs to go beyond that. So trying to dig down as to other reasons that are motivating them to pick those locations is very helpful. Helpful in furthering their development of their intellectual and personal growth. Be sure you understand the difference in cost between staying on campus and studying abroad. Oftentimes families decide it's not affordable before they have compared the actual cost difference. My office has a comparison worksheet that we encourage students to use, which helps to map out those cost differences. We ask that you allow your son or daughter to engage on the process of preparing to go abroad with some autonomy in order to deepen independence and responsibility. This is really important. We view pre-departure as preparation for learning to navigate a new location and culture on one's own. So we kind of look at it as, that prep work that they have to do before they're ready to be abroad on their own. The process for applying and preparing to go, as well as getting a visa, making travel arrangements, they all require some diligence and organization. And I'm sure that your son or daughter would appreciate some guidance with these from you. Encourage them to think globally and learn their host country's history, politics, and culture before they go. I want you to be sure you know that it's common for students also to have some difficulty adjusting to a new location for the first week or two abroad. Support them the way you did when they were freshmen and entering college for the first time, with support and assurance. Usually feelings of cultural adjustment and angst over being in a new place pass, but students need some support in getting through that period. Very few students have decided to return from their study abroad program despite adjustment issues, so that's good news. And also be sure you stay in touch while they are abroad, but not too much, of course. They need to engage with their new surroundings in order to develop cultural competency the cultural competency benefits we discussed. I'm going to take a minute to see if we have any questions that have come in. Okay. All right, so one question is, it's not entirely clear how the aid transfers. If the student is receiving 3/4 of aid, am I right when they go to a semester, they get 1/4 of aid per semester? That's correct. So then the second question is, if they go in the fall, they would just go to school for a full semester, but be charged the same as if they were in Seattle for the full quarter. Correct. That's a yes to that question. The next question is, then they would come back for the last 2 quarters. How does the aid and semester quarter schedule work if they go in the spring? So if they were to go in the spring, they would receive just 1/4 of aid. They will not have access to the remainder of that aid for that academic year, but I believe that could stretch out beyond the 4 years. That's why it's important for students to talk to the student financial services counselor before they make any commitments to go abroad, to have a better understanding of how that works. Another question is, would the payment for study abroad be required in full before the student leaves, or is there a payment plan similar to on-campus tuition? If the student is participating on an SU faculty-led, SU sponsored, or an exchange program, then yes, they would be able to be on a payment plan similar to what they would have on campus. If they are doing a non-SU program, they're not paying SU at all, and so therefore would be at the responsibility of the program provider and their expectations in terms of how to pay them for the semester. Okay. Let's see. Someone else wrote in about the Albers program offering internships to only juniors and seniors. I believe that you're referring to the IDIP program, which is the International Development Internship Program. I mentioned that earlier. That is considered an SU program, and students can apply financial aid to that as well. However, it's not only, although the director is from Albers, it's open to students of all majors, not just business students. Okay. And then there's another question about Berlin. Is it a partner program? Yes, it would be considered. We call it an SU-sponsored program, but it is run with one of our SU partners. Okay. So we are going to move on now to hold on, we're not going to move on because I just hit something I wasn't supposed to. Okay, so now we're going to move on to your students and talk a little bit about what their role is. So we expect them to engage with our office even if they choose a non-SU program. That's really important to know. They still have to work with us even if they're choosing a non-SU program. They need to meet with their academic advisors to be sure they're on track for their graduation requirements. They should research different program options and consider more than just the location, as I think I've mentioned a few times now. You might be able to tell that's a little pet peeve of mine because I think I've brought it up one too many times. My office provides information on our website, again, as I mentioned, to assist with this. We also will talk to students about this during their advising sessions. Again, advisement is also for students thinking about non-SU programs as well as the SU programs I mentioned. We try to, we want to know what's important to each student to gain as a result of studying abroad, and we try to get at this through discussions with each of them. My office can assist students in figuring out the costs of participation as well, as I mentioned. We expect them to keep you and themselves informed of what's going on and what's necessary to do. We hold them responsible for knowing important deadlines. They have to meet with both my office and with their program provider as well. All students who want to transfer education abroad credits back to SU must complete a course approval form and other paperwork. There are deadlines for completing this, which can be found on our website and our paperwork. We also mention it several times to students in their meetings with us. They will have to apply for a visa with the appropriate country consulate. They have to attend a required health and safety pre-departure orientation that is presented by my office. We hope they'll take the initiative to learn again about their host country as well. Studying abroad is a privilege for SU students and not a right, and therefore there are expectations placed on them to prepare for the experience and follow it through, as well as to represent SU, to represent you and themselves positively while abroad. And my office is happy we can walk alongside them and you as they travel their journey to their study abroad experience. Okay, and so as I mentioned earlier, you can find specific details of our programs and financial structure on the website. I've also talked to Tim about pulling together some resources specifically for parents that you may be interested in consulting. So I'll work on getting that together and we will make that accessible to you. I think there are some really good resources out there to help you, because it's no easy task to be in the supportive role as students are working their way through all of this information. So I'm happy to answer questions now. This is the end of what I had to present today. Please type in questions if... Okay. So Tim will definitely follow up with an email to the links that I have mentioned, especially to our Education Abroad website. That was one request that has come in. Is there anything else that folks would like me to talk about? Bear with us, I just clicked yet again something I shouldn't have. Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Tim now.
Thank you very much, Gina. I really appreciate all of the insight and wisdom that you've given for our webinar participants today. As I said earlier, we will go ahead and make a recording of this webinar and get that out on our YouTube page and also out on the Parent and Family Engagement Facebook page. I also want to thank everyone for helping to support this programming series this year. This is the first time that we've done it with Parent and Family Engagement, and it has had resounding success and has definitely hit a nerve with families wanting more information about the SU student experience. I definitely want to thank Lori Prince for all of her work in pulling this series together, and we will do this again next year. For those of you that have participated and have students moving on through their SU experience, we will be sending out a survey for folks that have participated in these saying, okay, we've got a base level of understanding of the types of things that people want. What would you want to know about for next year? And then we will build a curriculum around that. So we'll not only do the 3 that we did this year, we will be adding to our repertoire of webinars for folks. But until then, we want to wish everybody a great rest of the day. Thank you so much for participating, and we will be in touch soon.